It is one of the most legendary racetracks in the entire world, with some of the greatest Formula One championships coming down to the wire right here at this very racetrack. It is the opening race for the Svenska Eracingligan here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening here tonight. Alongside me, my broadcast partners, Jason Sawford and Tony Trapasso. Jason, this is your realm, open circuit racing. It's going to be quite an entertaining night here tonight. We got 24 drivers set to take the grid here tonight. So much fun to have GT3 racing back on the network.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. We're going to be here for the GT3 racing every 2 weeks, and then we'll also be covering the Oval series. So we're going to be going GT3 Oval, etc. And what a great place to start, as you said. 18 turns of just pure driving fun here tonight.
Absolutely. And Tony, we've seen one manufacturer heavily favored here tonight, and that would be the front engine Mercedes. There is a little bit of a balance of power thing that has to be worked out, but the Mercedes right now, by far and away, the most chosen car here for tonight.
It is at that, Frank, and you know the other thing you got to look at. We've got a lot of BMWs in the field as well, with one sole Audi, one sole Porsche, and one lone Ferrari making up the grid tonight. And 24 drivers slated to roll off here, and it's a different format than we're used to normally.
Yep, and that format would be that we're going to have, at least for this race, it will change from round to round, but we will have a 20-minute race. We'll have our 3-lap qualifying to begin the night. We will also have a 20-minute, effectively a sprint race. The top 20 finishers of that sprint race will be inverted for the final 40-minute feature. So Jason, a lot of racing here tonight and a lot on the line. Some different strategy depending upon where you are in the field. Do you go for the sprint win, or do you try to fall back as far as you can so you can get pole for the feature?
I think, to be honest, the guys that are up at the top, you want to be going for both wins, really. I mean, you got 45 minutes and a pit stop to make up time in the feature race, so it's obviously not going to be easy. And those reverse grids really do bring up some chaos sometimes, but it's definitely the strategy to just absolutely go for it. And I don't think playing the reverse grid is too much of a good strategy here tonight.
Well, we will certainly be seeing a mixture of those strategies. We only have a couple of minutes left here in this practice session, and it'll be Sam Hammerstedt, who right now sits atop the pile with a 1:56.50, just reset that fastest lap in that Mercedes AMG. And Tony, that thing is very, very stable, especially through the first S's section, right at the beginning of the circuit.
Well, not only is the car stable, but it's got a ton of power under the hood of that AMG, and like you mentioned earlier, the balance of power isn't necessarily in favor of anything except for the Mercedes right now. The second quickest car in the GT class, so overall in iRacing right now, would be the BMW, and then you've got the rest of the best of the rest, basically. And it's something that iRacing is probably going to need to work on, but it's definitely something that the league management is going to try to get sorted out as the season wears on. They're going to try to work to balance out the BOP, work on the BOP as the season moves on.
Absolutely will, as we have quite a nice size field again here tonight. As we had mentioned, 24 drivers will be set to take the grid here for this race. All 24 have put a time down, and Jason, rather close as far as time is concerned. A 56.5 is your current best, and about 4 seconds or so off the pace at the very bottom. So it's going to be a closely contested field here tonight.
Yeah, it's a pretty good field. If we were looking at field spread F1 style, then you got the 107% rule over there. Everyone firmly within that, and it's looking like Sam Hammerstead has definitely got the opportunity to run away with it, at least in the heats. But it's going to be very, very competitive for the entire rest of the grid, and I have no doubts that people will be able to keep the 74 car in check during the race, at least.
Absolutely. There you see one of the Mercedes carrying one of the series sponsors. That is Jonas Gunnarsson, currently fifth fastest in that number 33 Mercedes. And right now, going back again to the team names on the timing tower, AM Racing Team right now, that would be his the team that we're seeing displayed on this number 33. Fastest of the team so far, Tony, and I'm seeing Forza Esports up there a lot, either Forza Esports or Forza Esports Academy taking over the top 4 spots here in the practice session. That is a very good omen for that team coming into this race.
It is, and that team's always strong wherever they show up. We've actually seen some of those guys making starts in some stock car leagues, and the guys for Forza Esports, it's gonna be a tough team. They definitely have the speed, they have the skill, and it's gonna be interesting to see how this does play out for not just the driver championship but also the team championship.
It certainly will be, as we are inching closer and closer to the point where we begin qualifying. Another Mercedes, Philip Axelson, currently 6th quickest in the 016. Best time of a 58.27, about a second off of his best lap on the last circulation around the racetrack. A part of the Superior team. Now, there are quite a few, there is quite a number of drivers a part of said Superior team, broken up into to different groups. There's Superior Fun, Superior Stray Dogs, Superior Top Dogs, and Superior Underdogs. And if I remember correctly, it's going off the top of my head, I believe Axelson is a part of Underdogs. And that's going off the top of my head there. Actually, let me do this really quick. Axelson, Top Dogs, pardon me. So already wrong. Just sure is something we're going to be doing here all night long. We're going to be, again, being English speakers, Jason and Tony both. This is part of the reason, I think, why these guys brought us on, is to have a bit of a laugh at some letters we don't usually see in the English language.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Maybe.
correct. And I mean, Jason and I have had some experience with a lot of the Swedish names, but unfortunately, there's a lot of new names here tonight that I think I'm going to step over my tongue a couple of times before we're done.
Yeah, and maybe I have a slight advantage with my proximity to Sweden, and I am actually half Dutch, so it's also another European language in Germanic-ish family group. So I rate myself as not confident, but yeah, it's not confident. You get what I mean.
As somebody with only English speaking and a little bit of Italian, this is about as foreign as it gets for me right here, as we're still watching Axelson go by. About to jump in the pits, actually, here just before the end of this practice session. Here's Sam Hammerstead, who once again sets the fastest lap at a 1:56.48, about a second quicker than any of his other competitors.
Now you're just showing off when you get to that.
And that will be the end now of this practice session, and we will go to qualifying for tonight's race. What will be a three-lap qualifying session. 10 minutes, 3 laps solo qualifying. Again, followed by the 20-minute race, a 5-minute warm-up session, and then a 45-minute race here this week with the top 20 inverted from the sprint race. And right now we will see who has jumped on track. Furthest along appears to be Robert Lundgren in a BMW, so quite nice to see the change there.
Yeah, definitely. You're gonna try to get the tires up to temperature quickly, and not overdrive it for your 3 flyers that they're going to be giving them tonight. 10-minute session, up to 3 laps available, and only a handful of drivers not out on track already.
Hammerstedt not on track, Sorensen not on track yet, and I believe that's actually it.
That's it.
The other 22 competitors on track in some way, shape, or form. As warm-up laps are underway, you can see Lundgren warming up the tires. We'll go to Anton Ehrmann in the number 42 Ferrari. As Tony had mentioned at the top of the broadcast, only Ferrari in the field. And Jason, for those that don't know, there is quite a big handling difference between the makes and the models of these cars, whether it be because of weight or whether it be because of aero setup. Being the lone Ferrari here, he really has nobody else to go off of, looking at somebody else who may be in a Ferrari going, okay, maybe this is the better way to take this turn instead of the way I'm doing it.
It doesn't, but the Ferrari is an interesting car, actually. You've got more of a mid-engined style because, well, you're going to be more loose at the rear, but that could definitely help.
Especially with as tight and twisty as Suzuka is, that could definitely play into an advantage. Another car that's got the engine at the back, you've got the lone Porsche and the lone Audi. Both of those are mid to rear engine vehicles as well, and the Ferrari though is a little bit more twitchy even than the Porsche.
And you would figure in a multi-manufacturer series like this, you would figure with the Ferrari Challenge being a D-class series and everyone having that experience in the Ferrari, as we see Linus Dahlmann on track right now in the Audi, you'd figure, Jason, that would be a favorable car. It's one that everyone knows. It's one that you get very comfortable with very early on in your iRacing GT3 running. It's honestly a little surprising to see just one Ferrari out here.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue with that is they changed which Ferrari they used for the Ferrari Challenge about a year ago, as Linus Dahlmann goes for a bit of a spin there at Degner 2. But yeah, they changed the Ferrari Challenge that they used a year ago because they've got the updated version now, the Evo model, that was released in GT3 Racing in 2020. And I personally have the old one. I never bought the new one because I had already moved on to a different GT3 by then, and I think most people are similar.
It is still a very nice feel still, as we see this is Marcus Stromberg in the lone Porsche coming through the final corner. And to complete his first lap, times will start coming in here momentarily. Lundgren, who we saw at the beginning, fastest of all, and actually take that back. Linus Hellberg is fastest in that Mercedes Evo. Now Oscar Fredriksson taking that over, and he will only put one lap down. Jonas Gunnarsson, who we saw during practice, up into second. As times are coming in, Tony, very, very quick here, as there goes Gunnarsson around.
Yeah, not the lap he was hoping for. It was just a little twitch and a little too much curbing, and around she went as Heinrich Linzoff goes to the top of the pile now. There's
Lindoff in the Mercedes Mercedes occupying 9 of the 10 top positions here in this qualifying session. Only one who is not in the Mercedes that is up in the top 10 right now is Tim Orshkog in the 124 BMW, heading towards Spoon right now. Very difficult corner, Jason, that Spoon corner, because it's tight at the beginning, and then in order to get into that second bit of the corner, you have to let off a lot more than you think, and then it's a long wait before you can really use that straightaway to your advantage.
Yeah, you always feel like you want to get on the power so much earlier than you can. You're just sort of waiting, then finally able to go on the power. And you've got to try and not extend that track too much, because you have a bit of Astro to use, and then you're straight onto just grass, and that grass doesn't help you anymore on iRacing. So, so you don't want to be using it.
To speak to the grass not helping you anymore, that was an issue as Sam Hammerstedt immediately goes right up to the top at a 56.63. So an incredibly quick time for that number 74 as Linus Dahlman, once again, he is on a good one. First lap did not count. 11th place for the lone Audi. Daniel Holmer on his way through the final corner in his BMW, crossing the line. Again, first lap did not count. Second lap will move him up to P9. As we see another one of the bright esports entries, Hook and Huet coming through the final corner. And that 101 BMW does not set a valid time here in this qualifying session. Joachim Ulrichsen spinning through the final corner. Ooh. Watch the pit there. There was a lot lighter contact that he could have made, Tony.
That could have ended all sorts of poorly, but no, he got it woed down just enough. But didn't damage too much on the car. They're probably not going to have to go to their backup ride. But, the 101 BMW, that he's trying to lay down at least one lap that's going to count. The only other driver that has yet to lay a time is Christian Sorensen.
Yep, Sorensen's on his first lap right now. This is Sam Hammerstedt going through 130R. On his second lap. Slower than his personal best all the way through. So it will not be a resetting of the fastest lap. However, should be good enough to get him on pole. Coming through that lap at 2:12. So yeah, he definitely took a little bit of time off there, as here comes Christian Sorensen. A little bit wide coming out of Spoon there. And Jason, the corner that everyone is going to be watching is the corner right up here, 130R. If you get it right, you can take it full throttle. It is very, very scary to do. But that's a spot where we could be seeing a lot of overtaking, or at least a position to where you can get yourself in a spot to do some overtaking going into the final chicane.
Yeah, definitely. If you position yourself well enough through 130R, then overtaking into the chicane is firmly possible. And I don't think Sorensen's going to get a lap in, actually, because we've only got 20 seconds left in qualifying. And iRacing, I believe, does not extend the time after the 10 minutes they've been allotted.
If it's a lap, sorry.
This is basically just a practice session at this point, isn't it?
Yep. As if there is a lap counter on the qualifying session, which there is, there will not extend the qualifying, as there it goes. And here we go to the grid here for this sprint race, this opening sprint race. As there we go, there's the grid. Starting on pole for the sprint race will be Sam Hammerstedt with a time of 1:56.631. Henrik Lindhoff will start outside of him on row number 1. Row 2 goes to Gustav Jansson and Oscar Fredriksson. Row 3, Jonas Gunnarsson and Linus Dahlman in row number 3. Row 4 goes to Robert Eriksson and Michael Haflidason. I hope that was right. William Pauna and Daniel Holmer will make up the top 10 in row 5. Jason.
Yeah, and then we've got Yoko Ur in 11th. Please tell me if that is correct or not. If you watch the broadcast back,
that was what Google Translate had said was correct.
Andre Seelander in 12th with Sebastian Magnusson and Philip Axelsson 13th and 14th. Tim Orskog and Linus Hellberg make up row number 8 with Oliver Crusoe and Joachim Ulrichsen in 17 and 18. Then Anton Öhman and Robert Lundgren round out your top 20, Tony.
I'll take a pass on this one.
I'll keep going then. We've got Dan Segelson in 21st with Marcus Stromberg in 22nd. Håkan Hurt, I think, in 23rd. And Christian Sorensen rounding out the field.
So everyone except for the bottom 4 finishers here in this session will in fact get inverted. If you finish in the bottom 4, you will start in the bottom 4 as the grid is now rolling off to begin what will be this 20-minute sprint race. Boy, my frames did not like that roll off. As we are getting set to go for the first sprint race of this season 5. Jason, turn 1 is going to be definitely going to be dangerous.
Yep, turn 1 is going to be interesting. When I was trying to set a lap there, I crashed. So watch out for the rear end on the cold tires as the pace car is off. And
Tony,
we are getting ready.
Tony, take her away.
Well, it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Race fans, it's showtime!
It says lap 1 of 50 up at the top, but it is a
it's already happening.
7-minute session, and yes, it has. Looking towards the back, I believe that was Halifson. Yes, it is. In that Mercedes.
Yeah, that was a hard hit into the outside turn 1 wall, and it seems to be a pretty decent start for everyone, especially Daniel Holmer up 4 positions, maybe a bit because of that as well. Your closest cars at the moment are around 10th, 11th and 12th, with Andre Selander looking for a move on William Pauna potentially up into the Degners.
There's Pauna in that Mercedes, and if you catch too much of the curbs in these Degna corners, Tony, it's quite a ride for you. It's not these cars, even though they are heavier than say a Formula One car, these curbs are not to be messed with.
They absolutely are not, and that's the one thing these guys are going to have to figure out is how much curb can you take and not bend the car, because that's going to be the key to success, as it is always. Just make sure you bring it home in one piece.
Oh, it's Robert Lundgren backwards.
Yikes!
In the number 20. That's a peculiar spot, because that's a right-handed sweeper. There's no real corner coming out of there.
Ooh, that was contact.
Yeah, I was going to say, would lead you to believe there was a little bit of help there, as Jonas Gunnarsson in the number 33 trying to hold off on Daniel Holmer. Holmer not quite close enough through the Casio triangle. At least it's what it used to be.
believe it still is.
I was going to say, I think you're right.
Tim Orskog in the 124, hiding back there in the BMW, the yellow BMW, looking for Linus Hellberg. Going into turn one, not close enough to make a move, but right now up at the top, Sam Hammerstedt is the man currently leading this race. What a beautiful view that was of just seeing these guys snake through the S's.
And it's kind of like a team practice session right now for those 4 guys at the front, as all of them running the same livery. And no, that's not going to get confusing at all later on in the season, folks.
Force Esports P1 and 3, the Esports Academy for Force, running 2 and 4. And Tony, you're right. There's very little distinction between the cars, whether or not you're in the academy or in or for the actual team.
Yes, I see this now, and you know it's. I'm loving the chrome that I'm seeing on those cars, you know, because iRacing has given us spec maps lately, and the chrome really pops on that AMG.
Well, now that we've gotten through this first lap, let's take a look and see what has happened on the opening start. Ooh, that Merc. That's Dahlman going into the grass on the inside line and going into turn one. It just looked like Haflidason he was pushed about as far over as he possibly could get and then just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, while we were watching that, we were on track. We've got side-by-side action between Ericsson and Fauna as Daniel Holmer, I believe, was going for an overtake or had to fend off through 130R. They were going side-by-side through 130R. We nearly had a 3-wide moment coming up to it, actually. Luckily, one of them backed off because that would have ended in tears for at least 2 of the 3 cars.
Haflidason again a little bit later on. This is him coming back onto the racetrack from that incident. Robert Lundgren, we had mentioned that he had gotten clipped a little bit. There's the incident. I believe the Porsche caught a little bit of it as well coming out of that corner. And then as you had mentioned with Ericsson and Dahlman going through the first bit of the S's side by side, a very advantageous move there, shoving the 73 off a lot of net code there as we're having incidents on the track here. Oliver Kersel has had an off in the 015 Mercedes.
Just caught too much curb is what it looked like with the 015.
Jump to that here right now. It's coming out of turn one. Yep, too much curb, kept spinning.
Keep watching.
And off he went, sitting right in the racing line. And who's coming? Oh.
Yep.
Would have been Anton Ehrman, pardon me. That ended up running into the side of him.
Oh, we've got another Merc off track. It's the 404 of Linus Hellberg. That looks like at the entry to Spoon? No, exit to Spoon.
Marcus Stromberg in Spoon, sliding away in the Porsche.
Were they related? I don't think they were related incidents.
No, they were not. Philip Axelson following Sebastian Magnussen right now. Closest battle on track is right around here. Andre Solander in that 140 BMW trying to hold on against Daniel Holmer. Good run for Holmer there. Not quite enough, though, going into the S's, and this is one you're going to have to wait for a while.
Yeah, going to be a tall order to get anything done during the S's. You need to be at least alongside for turn one or have the driver in front make a mistake, but all of these drivers look pretty solid. Mistakes are rare, so I don't think we're going to be seeing one from them anytime soon, as battle for second hasn't calmed down. They've been following each other like that all race.
It's Gustav Janssen in the 336, right in front of Henrik Lindhoff in the 8, as these Forza Esports cars continue to waltz away. Now Hammerstedt is 3.2 seconds clear of this battle. Now these two, 2 seconds ahead of Oscar Fredriksson, who currently sits about a second ahead of Jonas Gunnarsson. To round out the top 5 positions, Daniel Holmer looking to the outside through Spoon for Andres Solender. Tony, going into 130R, about to be side by side.
That's never a good idea. And
Oi!
almost banging fenders there coming into the final chicane. That could have ended all sorts of poorly.
An onboard shot there. We're able to see out the left side window. What a shot that was. Just to see how close these guys are getting, as right now, here comes Solender back on Holmer. Heavy braking zone going into turn 1. The 140 has the spot, but he gives it away. He backs off.
Didn't want to put either one of them in a bad situation this early on.
Made sure to leave enough room for the other driver. That is very respectable. And while we were looking at that, the move for second between the two teammates has actually happened. Lindhoff is now once again ahead of Jonsson, so they are basically as they were on the grid, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5th in fact, all exactly where they qualified. So pretty good laps, and then just behind them, Yokour up 5.
There is the number 34 Mercedes, about 3 seconds off of Jonas Gunnarsson, ahead of him. Now towards the back here. Now that's, boy, that 81 Mercedes of Haflidsson.
Oof.
Flashing the lights, trying to get Linus Dahlman out of the way. A lot of damage on the nose of that Mercedes again, thanks to the incident on lap 1. We're about halfway through this first race at 9 minutes and 30 seconds in. Ignore the lap counter up there in the top corner.
Well, the thing is, between Dahlman and Hadelson, that's why Hadelson's car looks the way it does, is because he got in it with Dahlman.
Side by side, nope, not going into 130R. And with that,
There's going to be a dive.
there he is. Outside, what a move by the 81.
Bill banging.
Contact.
Had the move done. A big wiggle coming through the final corner as well. So many legendary moments through that final corner.
Yeah, that Merc is absolutely not happy as Dahlman able to get straight back at him into turn 1. So close between the two of them. Contact nearly as coming through turn 2. They are going to be side by side towards the S's. The 73 backs off and gives the position to the 81. But I feel like the 81 is going to be very down in a straight line, as that Audi came through pretty easily to try and take the position.
Now with that Audi being mid-engine, it's got the power against the Mercedes right at this moment with the damage on the 81. But it's got to also help in the corners, that balance mid-engine in the Audi. It's not a very dramatic car if you drive it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is still the older Audi. I know there is a newer Audi of GT3 out. Presumably we're going to be getting that at some point in iRacing. I know that is a lovely, lovely car to drive from other sims. But this one's great as well, as you said, with the mid-engine. It's very predictable if you drive it correctly. If you don't, enjoy. But I'm sure Linus knows how to drive it, considering he did qualify P6.
It's definitely one of those cars that it's more beginner friendly as far as jumping into a GT3 for the first time. The Audi's probably one of the more beginner friendly cars out of all of them that are available.
Group a little bit further up. This is Sebastian Magnussen in the 877, getting passed up now by Philip Axelson. Two Team Superior drivers. And it is going to be Magnussen who will keep the position into the corner. Orskog not that far behind in that 124 BMW.
No.
My.
Contact between Dolman and Half-Lederson going towards turn 2, the driver of the Mercedes backing off afterwards to just let the Audi back through as he knows that was his fault. But yeah, I think these two are going to be swapping positions until the end because that Mercedes really, as I've said, not happy.
You kind of got to wonder what would have been had he not shunted it in turn 1 on lap 1.
These two, I don't know if it would behoove one of these guys to let off and give the other one away because they're running 15th and 16th right now. The transfer spot, that's 4th and 5th as far as the field inversion is concerned, as Jonas Gunnarsson has had an off from P5. That's at Spoon, and that brings Jokke Ware right up to him. Possibly around him here as we go through 130R, side by side, about as close as you like. Gunnarsson keeps the spot, at least for the moment. And he will do.
Not
or
fast.
not.
You say that was maybe not as they're coming down into the start-finish line. It's always great to see the drivers giving each other room, especially at 130R. It seems to be driver on the outside receives the most room as they kind of need it. As we look to be side by side into turn 1, not quite going to be anything happening there. So Jokke Ware is going to have to stay behind for the time being. And maybe try a move, I think best place now, up into Spoon, or maybe again at 130R.
Let's take a look and see what happened that put Gunnarsson in this position. This is going through Spoon, catching up with Oscar Fredriksson. Just takes it a little bit wide on the curb, and it flicks him off. Sliding him sideways, keeps it on track. He won't get a 1X for it, at least. And then while we were watching that, Robert Lundgrensen has had an off.
That was a big shunt for Lundgrensen.
Yep, this is him coming. Oh, hard hit. Try to see if we can get a better angle of that. This is him coming through Spoon. Catches too much of that outside curb. Well, took all of the runoff there and a hard hit.
Put two tires into the sand, and that's what sent him.
Yep.
Ow.
Gunnarsson a little bit wide through the middle of Spoon here again. This brings Ware right back on him. Battle for 5th here between these two.
We're not letting Gunnarsson get away from him right now, and they're going to have to get it sorted out pretty quick because Ericsson and Pauna are closing in quickly.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to be starting our final lap, I believe, as the 20-minute timer will be up by the time Sam Hammerstedt is back at the start-finish line. So consider it white flag in the air as maybe a little bit of weaving down the straight. He knows he's got to take everything he can get.
And has done just that. Sam Hammerstedt right now 6 seconds to the clears of Henrik Lindhoff. Gustav Jansson not that far behind. He has definitely kept pace. In that number 336. And again, it's Robert Eriksson in the 35. William Pauna right behind him. Gunnarsson still leading this group of 4. 5th through 8th. as they head through the hairpin.
I think it's going to require a mistake from Gunnarsson now, or something completely special from Jochebert, as still 4/10 back, dropping through Spoon Curve. So we'll see how they go on the run up to 130R.
A little bit better out of that corner was Gunnarsson. Not much, though. Oh, there we go. That was the one we were looking for, off the nose of Ware.
We're going to have one final shot at it here. And chooses not to take it.
Looks like it's going to be Gunnarsson, at least at the line here.
Am I wrong with my timing?
I've got 2 minutes left here, so we're going to be. I
Oh,
assume it's
I was
this lap plus 1.
My apologies. I saw elapsed time 20 minutes. That's just iRacing thing, not quite correct.
And as I had mentioned, that the lap counter up at the top is not accurate. It is not a 50-lap run. It is a 20-minute run, as we see Hammerstedt going through the Degna corners. Just so smooth and fluid, as once again, well, this battle's still raging here between Ware and Gunnarsson. Ware has been a little bit quicker than Gunnarsson, and Tony, ever since he had that little slip up in Spoon, Gunnarsson has not had the pace in that corner, trying to keep that mistake to a minimum.
I dare say he's probably turned up the traction control on that car, solely because he doesn't want to go through that situation again. Probably turn the ABS up just a tick, turn the traction control up just a tick or two. And, he's trying to make sure that he can keep that car under him right now, because he's got a top 5 in his sights as we are quickly approaching checkered flag here in the sprint race.
On board with Jakob Ware. Starting to pull a little bit of a gap, about 1.5 seconds back to Robert Eriksson behind him. Yep, flat through 130R, and boy, in that Mercedes, it is not a, it's as if it were nothing.
Yeah, that is a stout engine under the hood of the Merc. And that's one of the reasons why your top 8 cars are all Mercedes. The 2 BMWs a little, just ever so slightly down on horsepower compared to the brethren with the TriStar, but so far it's been an interesting race. We've seen a lot more battling than I actually expected us to see so far.
Well, these are great cars to battle in, to be fair, as we've seen throughout the race and are still currently seeing with Gunnarsson and Ware.
Now the transfer spot, as far as the 20th position on back, that is up for grabs right now, as Halfledson in that damaged Mercedes currently would be sitting on pole when we start the main 40-minute feature. Marcus Stromberg, who we're seeing right now in that number 64 Porsche, would be starting to the outside of the front row. So we are in the final lap, coming through 130R. Sam Hammerstedt coming through Casio now, and it has been a very uneventful sprint race.
Oh no.
For this number 74.
Stromberg just binned it.
We'll take a look at it here as Hammerstedt crosses the line. He will win the sprint race. Henrik Lindhoff, Gustav Jansson coming home in the top 3. Marcus Stromberg, as Tony had mentioned, losing it. And unfortunately for him, Linus Dahlman, there it is, Dahlman getting
Nope.
around him.
Oh, no.
And again, this is for the transfer spot. This is for pole in the next race.
Well, maybe pole is worth it if you're 20th rather than 19th. You get
at
to
this
decide when
point,
you're going. So
it's the fight's not over, though, as Stromberg can now see Haflitzen. Got one more chance to make a mistake going through Casio. Haflitzen just trying to make it through this race, as it will be that 81 that will sit on pole for the feature. But it was Sam Hammerstedt who, again, about as uneventful a race as you can possibly get. And with this 5-minute break, we will do just the same as well. We will be back to the Suzuka International Racing Course in just a moment. We are back at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Frank Marchese, Jason Soffer, Tony Trapasso in the booth with you for the first round of the Svenska Eracingligan right here on ESPN. We'll take a look at the results here for the sprint race. Here tonight, Sam Hammerstedt waltzing away with that win. Hedrick Lindhoff and Gustav Jansson finishing out on the podium, the only two drivers inside of 10 seconds of the race lead. Oscar Fredriksson, Jonas Gunnarsson, Jokke Ware, Robert Eriksson, William Pauna, Daniel Holmer, and Andre Selander coming home in the top 10. And right now, Jason and Tony, I believe you guys have Sam Hammerstedt ready and waiting after his first win of the season.
We do at that. Joining us now, Sam Hammerstedt. And Sam, I don't think I've ever seen anybody turn Suzuka into a Sunday drive like you just did.
Well, thank you. It's
just complete dominating performance so far.
Yeah, well, think I've been practicing a little bit more than my teammates and the other people behind me.
Well, the sprint portion of the race is over, and due to the invert, you're going to be starting back in row number 10. What do you need to do to get back to the front?
Well, first of all, I need to avoid a start crash. That would be horrific. And then maybe get some more action going than in this race.
Jason, you got anything for Sam?
Other than my congratulations for the first one and good luck for this one, hopefully you can make it through the field cleanly, and we look forward to potentially speaking to you after this race as well.
Me too. Thank you.
So that was your sprint race winner, Sam Hammerstedt. Now with the 45-minute time that will be up here for this race, it is going to be quite a show. And as you saw there at the bottom of the screen, we'll go now to the starting grid here for what would be the main feature race here tonight. Michael Halfledson will start on pole, hopefully looking for a better run this round, this time through, with Linus Dahlman right next to him, just as they were for the sprint race. Anton Ehrman and Dan Sigurdsson will make up row number 2. Row 3 goes to Linus Hellberg and Christian Sorensen. Row 4, Joachim Ulrichsen and Tim Urskog will make up row number 4. Philip Axelsen and Sebastian Magnussen in row number 5, Jason.
As everyone is now on the grid, and Andre Selander in 11th and Daniel Holmer P12. William Pauner and Robert Eriksson make up the 7th row. Jocke Wør and Jonas Gunnarsson make up row 8, with Oscar Fredriksson and Gustav Jonsson, 17th and 18th. Rounding out your top 20 is going to be Henrik Lindoff, I can get my words out, trust me, and Sam Hammerstedt. Then we've got Håkan Hurt in 21st, Marcus Stromberg 22nd, Robert Lundgren 23rd, no, 24th, yeah, and Oliver Crucell is in 23rd.
So here we go, getting ready for 45 minutes of racing action. Halfledson bringing it down to the line, looking for a cleaner start this time, and everyone gets away. Halfledson a half a second clear as we hit the line.
It is an absolutely
around hard, big incident.
Oh,
Magnussen,
big crash
Selander.
in the back.
Selander
catching
hard.
a piece of that one.
Where also getting a little bit of it. Magnussen off track again. Halfledson getting away though. Ehrman in second, a second and a half to the good over Linus Dahlman. Gustav Jonsson side by side with Jonas Gunnarsson as they head into the Degna corners. Gunnarsson pulls a little bit of lead, side by side contact in front of them. That was the 311. Ulrichsen.
Yeah, contact between teammates. That is not what you want in your debrief. As there was contact between the 33 and the 336 going through Degna 2, as well as now we have Dan Sigurdsson and Linus Hellberg, and Christian Sorensen, side by side contact up towards Spoon. That's the 65 round. Bit of chaos at the start of this one.
BMW on BMW crime there.
Sigurdsson just trying to get back onto the track, and it's the second time I think we've seen Sigurdsson have that issue in the same spot, just side-by-side contact. As side-by-side up for 6 now, Daniel Holmer looking for a spot on Orskog in the 124. Oh, big hit! Oh, big hit! That was the 34. Or pardon me, the
Philip
43.
Axelsen. Philip Axelsen race car to the face.
Yep, Sorensen.
And, yikes.
Yeah, we've got a lot to go over here in this first lap.
Oh, cow.
Boy, oh boy.
I'd say don't start that yet, as we've got Linus Dahlmann and Anton Oehmann battling for second and third as well.
Yeah, no, we'll wait a minute here before we start looking at the replays of this insane first lap. And this is part of it. Coming through this this inverted field, the slower cars up at the front, or quote-unquote slower cars up at the front, the faster cars in the back. Boy, does it create some drama. It creates some intensity. And boy, has it. Here at the beginning of this race is even still Homer looking for spots still on Orskog.
Yeah, and may I say, Gustav Jonsson's done a beautiful job at the moment, up 11. We've got a handful of drivers up 9, 10th through 13th, all up 9 positions, but that 336 is looking very good going up, and still right on the back of Holmer and Orskog. So looking good for another 2 positions potentially here as well, though a train behind as well.
Sprint race winner Sam Hammerstadt currently sitting in 11th and has already made up a ton of spots, having to start back in 20th for this endurance portion of the event. And he's just he's riding by himself right now, no trouble front or back, as Jocko Ware going after it right now with Haken Scott.
We're taking the spot. Sorry. It's Henrik Lindhoff side by side through Casio. Just so much going on in such a little amount of time.
There is indeed, and Tim Orskog is going to have to be on the defensive here, as he's got Daniel Holmer right behind him going up towards turn 1. Probably not going to be looking for a move at this distance, and doesn't. That's the sensible option, but very much so compressing here coming through at turn 2. And this is the time, with a little train, this is the time where you might see a cheeky dive, as we may see from Gustav Jonsson in the middle of the S, as it didn't work out that time, but commentators blessing, I think, nearly for Jonsson, as he's still nearly side by side trying to go up through towards the Degners. He's going to look for an Indegner one, but backs out. Sensible decision.
Gets the absolute door slammed on him going into the Degners.
Yeah, he's trying to shove that Merc into a position, and that was, you saw it if you were looking at him going into the S's, saw the flashing lights trying to let him know, hey, get out of the way, I'm a little bit quicker. But with that, we'll take a look now. We'll go back and see everything that happened, or try to see everything that happened going into that first lap. And I believe the best way to do this would be to look at it from above. So that is exactly what we will do. If I can find the start of the, there we go. So we'll take a look now at the start of the race.
It kind of all kicked off when Dahlmann just didn't go.
Through there it is. There's the incident up there.
Oh my.
Oh, we've got more to look at when you get back.
Okay,
10-4. Definitely.
There's the 4 wide. Ooh. Yeah, they were about 4 wide going into turn 1. Go back live now. Linus Dahlmann having an off, I'm assuming. This is Dahlmann here on replay.
Yeah, that was a big shunt.
Oh, ooh.
A lot happened.
Getting into it there. That was, it appeared as though Dahlmann had gotten out of shape in the 130R, and then on came, let's see, yep, runs too wide in 130R, and then here comes the Ferrari, just nowhere to go, and boy, Ehrman hit very hard.
And he immediately towed that car right back to the pit, so
as you would assume,
race over for him.
Go back and see from Ehrman's point of view in the Ferrari. You see the Audi, and he's just trying to clear him. And that's why they say hold the brakes. So
far, only 15 cars still running here tonight.
Yeah, that promotes Gustav Jansson up to second. Haflitzen currently with a 6-second lead at the moment. We'll take a look a little bit more at what happened on that first lap. And if Jason, I'm going to work on something here really quick, if you wouldn't mind.
Are we live on?
No, yeah, we are. No, yeah, we're good. I'm just
okay.
I'm gonna take a step back.
Yeah, no worries. So I am currently looking at 9th position and 10th position as they're looking to be a move. Oscar Fredriksson currently looking around the outside of Håkan Hurt as that just about gets done before turn 1 as plenty of quarter given, which is lovely to see. And while we were looking at some replays, Gustav Jonsson actually made a move on Tim Orskog, so he is up into 2nd place, up 16 positions, continuing that great work, moving up through the field, Tony.
Yeah, they are at that. As you've got the two Mercs of Hallefson and Jansson running away with this one, but Hallefson right now currently sits 5 seconds to the good over his fellow Merc driver. And then you've got the two BMWs of Orskog and Holmer that are just still going after each other like two kids in the backseat of a station wagon on summer break.
Yeah, absolutely. Holmer going to be looking to make a move pretty sharpish. Is it going to be into Spoon? It is. Just about enough room given between those two BMWs. I think they're still going to be side by side on the run towards 130R. Who's got the better exit? It looks like Holmer's got the better exit, but actually they are pretty even. As bit of grass there for Tim Orskog, not knowing exactly how much room he's got. And that promotes Daniel Holmer up into 3rd. And we were speaking of the lead 2. Is there a move to be made here? Henrik Lindhoff thinks so. It looks like there is a move to be made here as well, as they are side by side coming towards the start-finish line. But yeah, Lindhoff has got the run here, so he should be able to get that done before T1.
Yeah, Orskog definitely trying to draft as much as he can, use the slipstream off of that big bad Merc in front of him. And, you know, if you're Orskog right now, you're kind of feeling a little outgunned as there's Mercedes in front of you, Mercedes behind you, and the only other BMW is Holmer currently sitting in 3rd, and he's already dropping time to Jansson.
Yeah, and I want to pay attention to Jansson's lap times. Last lap was a 1:57.96. So that's only 2 hundredths off of the quickest lap time in the race so far. And as such, he is making ground on our leader, Michael Haflidason. Went about 1.5 seconds quicker that time round. So we are going to be seeing a battle for the lead in the next few minutes as, ooh, looks like Marcus Stromberg's gone off.
Stromberg has gone off, but if you look right now between Orskog, that is your sprint race winner, Sam Hammerstadt, already up 14, trying to make some headway here as he's got that bright yellow BMW in front of him and he's trying to dispatch.
Yeah, the car 124 definitely isn't camouflaged here, but I do really like that livery with all the triangle pattern going on there. But he's looking to try and break the toe a little bit of Sam Hammerstead. Hammerstead not even bothering to try and follow him to chase the toe. So he knows he's got pace. Obviously, he's a sprint race winner. And he may be looking for a move into turn 1 if he's close enough here with a bit of slipstream down the start-finish straight.
And the other thing we didn't talk about yet tonight, Jason, is the fact that these guys are only running a 67% fuel fill, 66% fuel fill in these cars here tonight. So we are going to need to have a pit stop at some point during this feature event.
Yeah, we are, as Hammerstead and Orskog go side by side, and Orskog knows maybe that that is not his battle in the long term while he is a quick driver outright. We saw the absolute pace of Hammerstead.
Heinrich Lindhoff going after Dan Holmer right now, as Holmer has third and Lindhoff wants it.
He does indeed, going through the Degners and up towards the hairpin. So I thought the hairpin had another name, but maybe I'm wrong. I think some people maybe mistakenly call it Dunlop.
Right.
As now coming through turn 12, the long sweeping right-hander coming up to Spoon Curve. And yeah, that gap is not going away. Henrik Lindhoff is definitely going to be looking for a move, probably within the next lap. If he can get a good exit here off towards 130R, he's gaining. Is it enough? I don't think it's going to be enough into 130R, but get a good run through here. Set yourself up for a move either way into the chicane can work. Which way is it going to be? It's going to be to the left-hand side of Daniel Holmer, so it's going to be the inside line for Lindhoff coming through here, but just about able to slam the door in time is Daniel Holmer, and he keeps third for the time being.
Lindhoff not wanting to put either one of them in a bad situation, wisely backed out of it there. In the slipstream now, looks to the inside, going into one, not close enough to make it really happen, as that is one of your closest battles on track, and it's one of the best battles we've seen all race long so far.
It is absolutely coming through the S's now and coming towards actually Dunlop Curve. Henrik Lindhoff still staring down the bumper of the Bright Esports BMW, as he might not be staring at the bumper for too much longer. Moves into Degner 1. Don't tend to work very well, and he seems to know this.
You see both of them using up all the road that they possibly can to try to carry as much speed as they can get into the hairpin. Get those cars nicely rotated. And, you know, Jason, compared to what you and I normally broadcast together, and Frank, for what you and I normally broadcast together, you know, we broadcast cars with independent rear suspension, but it's on oval tracks, and those things do not like to turn. These cars seem to be pretty stable, and it looks like they're not having to fight the turn in here tonight at Suzuka.
Yeah, these cars are definitely made to turn. In fact, on iRacing, the GT3s seem to have quite a lot more grip than is present in real life, so that's going to be on their side, as well as
here we
Lindhoff
go.
looking very, very close, maybe down the inside into 130R. Normally, we see the car on the outside have the advantage, but the car on the inside worked well this time around. Is there going to be a move back after the chicane? Holmer looking for some sort of switchback. I'm not sure if he's got a run. I don't think there's a run there.
Yeah, he's not going to get it, but I mean, that was just, you know, your stereotypical, what we call in the States here, a slide job. You know, just through the block on Holmer.
Oh,
and Holmer
no.
sideways.
Yep, that is basically exactly what I did in my one practice lap when I drove around here. That's something you've got to be wary of through turns 1 and 2. And unfortunately, Daniel Holmer just the victim of some snap oversteer. Not
And what that
normal in
did
these
was
cars.
it opened the door for Sam Hammerstadt to go up into fourth, and now he's trying to reel in Lindhoff as you know, the two teammates are about to do heavy battle here, as we are fast approaching the 17-minute mark here in this 45 lap feature event.
Yeah, and Gustav Jonsson is very much approaching the lead as they are side by side coming through turn 12 up into Spoon. It's going to be Jonsson on the inside. He's going to have the advantage line. They nearly touch. Forced out wide is Haflidason, but he's not going to back down after that. He's going to try and swing it round the outside using as much curb as possible. It is going to be fully a drag race here. They are neck and neck coming into 130R. Which one of them's going to back off? Because one of them has to. It's going to be Jonsson to back off, biding his time a little bit.
Jonsson wisely getting out of it early so that Harrelson was going to slam the door whether Jonsson was there or not. Now they come down the front chute again, and that is a lap car behind them, unfortunately. That is Ericsson, who's currently slated in 16th spot. But the bad news is if you're Lindoff, Hammerstadt can see you and you can see Johansson. Or Jonsson, I'm sorry. These guys are starting to really close this one up. Here we go, another battle for the lead.
Yeah, this is going to work completely in the favor of the likes of Lindoff, Hammerstedt, Orskog, trying to catch up to the lead, as obviously if you're battling, you're going slower. Michael Haflidasson's last lap was a 2:02. Jonsson's last lap was a 2-minute dead, and then the guys behind them doing 58s. I'm not a mathematician, but lower number better. You're going to be catching up slightly.
Kind of like a golf score.
Yeah. We can say it that way, as there also appears to be a battle for 5th, though the lead battle is currently looking closer.
It is at that. As Jonsson all over Halfleston right now, and I do apologize, I just butchered that, and I am deeply sorry. But getting the flashing lights, letting them know, hey, I'm coming. Oy. Defensive line for Halfleston, as here comes Jonsson looking, gonna dive it going into the chicane.
Yep, and it's
Contact!
Still maybe a bit of contact. I think it was just about netcode, but was still going to be advantage of Haflidason on the inside for the final part of the chicane. That tends to be where you want to be, so that you can slam the door and exit and stay in the lead now. Henrik Lindoff now only 3 seconds back from this battle and closing up pretty quickly.
As we are fast approaching the halfway mark. Question is, Jason, when are we going to see the pit stop start?
Honestly, as late as possible, I think. I'm not an expert on the pit strategy here, I'd say, but I don't think the undercut is going to be particularly worth it if you come out into traffic, because that's the main thing you want to avoid here. If you're battling someone, you don't want to be out in traffic, so we may be seeing pit stops fairly late. I think 67% fuel fill in these cars, you could go probably nearly to the end. I think it's designed so that you can go nearly to the end, but you just about can't make it.
Well, I mean, also, if you take a look, you talked about the undercut. You take a look at your top 3. There are right now here 11 laps into this feature event. You're only looking at just under 2 seconds of fall off. So it might not sound like much, but yeah, as you mentioned, if you come out in traffic, you've pretty much just thrown your race away.
Yeah. I don't. To be honest, I don't even think they'd be taking new tires. It takes far too long in these cars because
Correct.
in the cars that you and I mainly broadcast, you're going to be sat there for 15 seconds doing a tyre stop. These ones, you're more like 3/4 of a minute, as maybe a bit of a mistake there for Fleederson. It's going to allow Jonsson to look. He's not going to get alongside, but he sure was looking at it, as Hammerstead throws everything I've said out the window by pitting. So that just tells you how much we know.
Yeah, I know very little, and apparently I'm not seeing that car up on the jack, so it looks like he is just taking fuel for this pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, it would surprise me if you were taking tyres when you're doing, for example, an endurance race. You'd probably be looking to double stint your tyres, and a normal stint would be an hour long, so
Right.
45 minutes sprint race, yeah, you're not going to want to spend the time changing your tyres, but this battle for the lead, admittedly, I thought it was going to be decided a bit quicker than it has been with the pace difference that we were seeing. But Hafliderson doing a very good job at defending, and actually Lindhoff not catching as quickly as I thought either.
Well, they're starting to pull a gap on him again, and Hafliderson and Jonsson are just getting after each other right now. Is looks like we've got a battle for 8th starting to heat up as they go side by side. Well, that was a ballsy move for 8th.
Yeah, let me go back and look at it. I didn't catch that one live, and yeah, I agree. Yeah, there absolutely is a lead battle at the moment, as well as Jonsson is going to try again. He looks like, I believe he's got the inside. He does, and leaves room on the outside for Hafliderson to try and fight back. So great racing between these two, but it looks like Jonsson has just about taken the lead. Bit squirrely coming through the first part of the S's, as we're seeing a couple more pit stops happening as well behind the Morschkog and Crucell now coming down pit road.
They are at that, and again, it kind of makes sense. We're about at the halfway mark. You know, you should be able to make it from here if you top off the tanks, and it gives those guys plenty of time to try to claw their way back through. As this field now getting pretty stretched out. Currently 16 cars still running. We've got a handful that have been on pit road for at least 20 minutes and still trying to get those cars fixed to gather as many points as they can here tonight in the opening round.
Yeah, I mean, I assume there's no minimum lap qualification for classification. I would assume it's if you finish, you get the points, and you're better off finishing than not. Those guys that have been down there for 23 plus minutes, I didn't think we had any engine blow-ups, so
well, the only one that looked like
major body damage.
The only one that looked like it might have been was Sorensen, as he went headlong into that wall, and I dare say that he probably shoved the radiator straight through, and our leaders are in.
Yep, double pit stop. Both of them seemingly getting stopped for the pit lane well enough, and that promotes Henrik Lindhoff into the lead, if only temporarily. And yeah, I can see how many cars are in the pits now. My question is, who is going to win this one off the pit lane? Because we could potentially see a swap, and it looks like we are going to see a swap, actually. Michael Hafliderson back out in front of Gustav Jonsson, and they may have Andre Salander between them as side by side coming out of the pits for Gustav Jonsson, but that pristine looking Mercedes winning out against the admittedly worse for wear BMW.
Cylinder, unfortunately, looks like that car has been through a war already, and we're just a little bit past the halfway mark here in this 45-minute race. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight, making us a part of your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are watching in the world. We're so happy to have you join us here on Sim Racing Media. Tony Shabasco, Jason Sofford, Frank Marchese over in the production truck on the controls. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, share, and turn on bell notifications so you don't miss a single moment of action here on Sim Racing Media.
And while we were getting that squared away, Jonsson and Haflidersen have once again swapped positions, and the Mercedes of Haflidersen really wanting to get closer to the chrome of Jonsson. As Lindhoff now into the pits as well, so probably going to be seeing the rest of our pit stops happening fairly shortly, as from what we saw after this move had happened before the pit stops, Jonsson didn't really get away that quickly, so I think this battle is going to continue.
I dare say you're right. It's the top 5 now peel off, so this is your effective race lead that we are watching the battle of right now.
Yeah, and that's going to promote Wolfgang Hutt temporarily into the lead, as Henrik Lindhoff, you didn't spend much time on pit road, and he's come out in front of Gustav Jonsson and Michael Haflidersen. So that battling not working out for them. The overcut working very well. That clean air, no battling, working brilliantly. And speaking of battling, 6th and 7th, Sam Hammerstedt taking 6th away from Tim Orskog.
Orskog had a little bit of a bobble going into the first part of the S's, and Hammerstedt wasted absolutely no time pouncing on that one. As Lindhoff still leads. Oy, I'm sorry, I don't even know where to look right now because everything's happening.
Yeah, let's have a look at 7th and 8th for a little bit, as Orskog still having to do some defending, this time against the black, red and white Mercedes of William Pauna.
Pauna does have a lot of damage on the front of that car.
Was going to say that the front right especially not looking so great. I'm surprised that light's still working.
Well, they're LEDs. You know, you don't really have to worry about those too much. Battle for third starting to heat up as Haflidersen is still putting the pressure on Jonsson right now as they come through the chicane. And your leader is in. That means your effective race lead is going to be Henrik Lindhoff. Now the question is, did he pack enough fuel in it to get to the finish?
Well, that overcut meant he had to be stopped for a shorter amount of time as well. That's one thing I think I personally forgot to take into account. When you pit later, obviously you need to spend less time on pit road because you've got less fuel to put in. It makes sense when you think about it.
Well, we're going to see here in only about 15 more minutes of whether or not he got enough fuel in that big bad Mercedes. So your top 5 made up of the big bad Mercs. Sam Hammerstedt has already climbed his way from 20th up to 5th here in the main, as Lindhoff plus 18 currently shows the way. Jonsson plus 16 sits in second right now, so those two teammates trying to put in work. Oh my goodness, around goes Haflidersen.
Oh yeah, I'm going to get myself a replay of that one. It's just showing me the Degners, I'm assuming.
It's right after the Degners, going into the hairpin.
A moment into the hairpin. Ooh, interesting. That's maybe just a bit too late on the brakes, and Henrik Lindorf back in third.
Oh my.
What's happened there?
Just looped it going through Spoon. Got the double apex wrong, and around she went.
Yeah, so from the lead... oh! That's another weird crash. Got it hooked up perfectly for the first bit, but then maybe too far outside for the second portion to start it off. It's an interesting crash, to be honest.
I almost got to think that we've just seen a couple of traction control failures. Battle for eighth going hot and heavy right now. Oy. Fredrickson not wanting to give up the spot, as he is all over that bright esports BMW in front of him. I don't think we could have asked for a better race to kick off this series, Jason.
No, absolutely. It makes me look forward to the rest of them, as it looks like the very BMW-coloured BMW is going to be keeping that 8th position. As this is going to be interesting towards the end as well, because it means that Lindorf, with his masterstroke of strategy, unfortunately, now going to have to catch up to and get back past both second and first again if he wants to get to the lead.
Battle for 8th as Fredrickson looking to the inside, going into a pucker moment. Wisely backs out of it, going through, I believe that was Spoon.
Yep. Who's got the exit? I think it's going to be Fredrickson with a good run on the exit, but he has lifted off. He's choosing not to use it here into 130R. And maybe just a bit too far away to make a move into the Casio Triangle as well. He would have wanted to be a bit closer than that. I think he was trying to set it up for the Casio Triangle and maybe just getting it slightly wrong, as it looks like we also have a battle for 11th just about going on into the final couple of turns.
That very wounded BMW of Cylinder, that thing's not up to full song, and you can kind of hear just how bogging that engine is. Definitely down probably about 500 RPM from what he normally would be seeing down the straightaways.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that on my end, at least, he has no hood.
Right.
And I think that's the same as what we've got on our producer's end as well. And looking back up towards the same battle for 8th that we were looking at, Fredrickson still right on the back of Håkan Hurt. And unfortunately, Tony, I'm going to have to leave you for about a minute. So
Oh, geez,
I'll be
thanks.
back as quick as I can.
So with that, I'll jump back in, trying to be honest. I have not used this overlay configuration in about a year, so I'm still trying to get used to it. As we're side by side here for the 8th position, Fredrickson now finally does take it away in that Mercedes. Tim Orskog also had an off here a moment ago. This is what happened with the 124 BMW. Just a little bit wide in Degna 2. Haflinson and Lindorf still battling for that second spot. And Tony, with the way he was running in the first race, I'm honestly not surprised that Haflinson is aggressive on defense as he has been here in this one.
Well, I mean, we saw him in race 1, as you mentioned. you know, and it was a very wounded car after turn 1 of lap 1 of the sprint race, but he still showed pace even with as badly as the aero was messed up on that car, and I guarantee you he definitely had some engine damage as well. Now that he's got, you know, a strong bullet back under him, he's definitely making the most of it right now. Started on pole for this feature race, currently sits in second, but they are losing a little bit of time to Gustav Johansson, Janssen, as he's already 4.5 seconds up the road.
Yep, Janssen has gotten away. He has taken the mistakes by both Haflitzen and Lindhoff and have run away with it, quite literally. He has done that. A little bit further behind, this is Andre Solender and Oliver Crusell, still going side by side. This would be for 11th between the BMW and the Merc.
Solender still with all that damage. You got to wonder just how he's able to keep that car under him with all of the body damage and all the chassis damage that thing sustained so far in this feature. As Frank, we're quickly approaching 5 minutes to go.
Yep, we are working 38.5 minutes right now into this race, and you can see there on the bottom of your screen the lap times between these two have been within 0.2 of a second, so they have been incredibly close with each other, as Orskog still trying to hold William Pauna behind him in the 114. There's one car
in the pits again.
Yep, I was just going to say. Hoketwet back in the pits in the 101 BMW. As Haflitzen and Lindhoff still continue that battle for second, a little bit wide through Degna 1 for Haflitzen. Doesn't appear to have affected him much, though. Oh, big dive in from Lindhoff.
Yikes.
Lindhoff getting into the back of Haflitzen. Both the two keeping their positions.
Yeah, he was looking to make it a Force Esports 1-2, but that's not how you want to do it, and Henrik Lindhoff allowing Haflitzen to take that position back as he rightfully should, so that it's as you were, but this has all really helped Jokke and Sam Hammerstead, who have caught up massively because of that.
There was the replay there. Looked like Lindhoff might have caught the grass a little bit as we head through 130R. May have caught the grass going into that hairpin just ever so slightly, as Lindhoff really putting the pressure on Haflitzen now. Again, inside of 5 minutes to go. And it's going to be Haflitzen coming back down pit road. He did not fill the car up enough.
I would have thought Lindhoff would have been in that scenario, not Haflitzen.
So interesting strategy decisions here. As Huer now right back to the back of Lindhoff. This is allowing Johansson, by the way, to get away 10 seconds up the road. Is that 336? So it looks as though it could be a clean sweep here today for the Force Esports team.
Yep, definitely could be. And looking at the battle for 7th, now that Haflizen's back out of the pits, Oscar Fredriksson is going to be looking for a way past now. They're just coming through Dunlop Curve and down towards Degna 1, so not an overtaking opportunity here, but maybe looking to see if he can set something up. The hairpin is technically possible, but setting up into Spoon is definitely going to be the best bet for the Forza Esports driver, as there may have been a little bit of contact into the hairpin.
Haflitzen taking a very defensive line, going through the hairpin.
I've received information that it was actually a drive-through for Haflidason as he hit 15x.
Oh, so that's the incident limit for Haflidason then.
So,
down to 7th.
Not ideal.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Is Michael Haflidason down to 7th. This battle still between Solender and Crucell. Going through Spoon now between these two. Battle for what is now 10th.
Salander seems to have the advantage through the twisty parts, but you can't overcome horsepower as Crucell gonna... Boy, what a run going into 130.
Watch out. Boy, we saw that on the very first lap, getting a little bit wide through 130R. Contact, definite contact there between the 015 and the 140.
The BMW laying the chrome horn to the Mercedes.
I am so surprised that that BMW was able to even think about a move back into the Casio triangle. It seems like he's much, much more confident under braking than the driver of our Mercedes here.
We've done that a couple of times here tonight. It's typically the commentator's curse, but tonight it's been to the benefit. Tony was saying, just saying, as that move was being made, horsepower from the Mercedes is going to pull him through, and that's exactly what happened. Spoke it into existence.
So does that mean like we no longer have an announcer's curse?
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Henrik Lindhoff, by the way, setting the fastest lap of the race. 157.85. Beating Gustav Jansson, who currently sits out in front. 157.96 was his previous best. The only two drivers to go sub 158 here in this race as Gustav Jansson now begins what would be the final lap. We're inside of a minute to go here in this race. Oscar Fredriksson still trying to get past Halflidsson.
Yeah, and once again backing off before 130R. We've seen this before, but once again backing off slightly too much towards the Casio triangle. Maybe going to look for a move into turn 1, but he does not have the run on the fellow Mercedes, so it ain't going to work here, but still got one more lap to do it in.
I think he's going to have to move him to get by him.
Oh, he's moved himself.
There we go.
Well, that's done that, as there's Fredriksson. We were watching the battle between Orgskog and Pauna just in front of those guys. We'll take a look and see what happened with Fredriksson. Too hot on the brakes going into T1 is what my assumption would be, and that is exactly... Oh, caught the curb. It was the curb that sent him around.
Those curbs have been deadly tonight.
We saw that incident that put Lindhoff back where he was. We saw Jonas Gunnarsson have the same issue in the first race, and Gunnarsson really shied away from those curbs the rest of the race. As we see Gustav Jansson on his way up. We are 45 seconds beyond time now. There you see the flashing lights, the weaving back and forth. Get through a couple more corners. 130R done and dusted. Casio triangle left. And for the first win of this season, as far as the feature races go, Gustav Jansson coming out of the final corner. He will win here at Suzuka the opening round of the season. And for fours, a 1, 2, 3, 4 in the opening round in the sprint race, and 1, 2, 4 in the opening feature. And
I've got to say, that was brave, weaving and flashing even before 130R. You're trying to ask to curse yourself at that point, but he kept it in a straight line and won in emphatic fashion, honestly, in the end.
Fredrickson pulling a Michael Schumacher at Silverstone. Serving his penalty on the final lap. Will he cross the start-finish line to keep the spot, though, is going to be the question. Yes, he will. Horskog just staying ahead of Pana, but for Gustav Jansson, what a run.
Yeah,
For the man in the
absolutely.
336.
I said it towards the start of the race, and I'll say it towards the end of the race as well. He did an absolutely beautiful job at managing his way through traffic in the early stages and kept that going throughout the race against the drivers who had finished lower than him in the sprint. So in the end, up 17 positions, both himself and Lindoff, taking that title for the biggest movers of the race. So great job from both of them, and well, great job from all of our top four, to be fair. They're all up double digits.
Absolutely. And Tony, the first time in a long time that we've been to Suzuka, especially together. What a race, and what a way to welcome GT3 racing back onto SRM.
Oh, I said it to Jason a couple times during the broadcast, Frank, and I don't think we could have asked for a better race to premiere this league and really shine the light on the talent that is in this field and is going to be in this field week in and week out here in the GT3 side of things. And, if this is what they're doing on GT3, I'm really excited when we debut the Oval Series as well.
Absolutely. The Oval Series will be coming up to start next week. They will be at Daytona for the start of the Oval season, which will run all the way until the 11th of May at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be back with the road side of things. We will be at Road Atlanta on the 8th of September. So a 25-minute sprint there, plus a 40-minute feature. I'm sure that is going to be a fun one at the home of the Petit Le Mans, Jason.
Yep, it absolutely will. And why don't we get on with these interviews and
I think
make
that
sure they're not waiting too long?
that would be a very, very good idea. And Jason, we'll start with our race winner, Gustav Jansson.
Yep, Gustav, hello. Race winner in the feature, and honestly, I have to say, marvelous job at getting through traffic, especially in the first part of the race. How are you feeling?
Yeah, obviously it feels good. Everyone in the team, Force, knew it was going to be hard starting from the back in the feature. But yeah, I was just kind of trying to avoid every crash and just work forward, and I managed to do that quite well. And then got stuck behind who was it? Half Liderson. But yeah, it eventually got past him as well. So yeah, awesome victory, I think.
Yeah, and it was a lovely battle between hopefully that's on yourself. Is there any moments that you're taking away from that that particularly stood out to you?
Yeah, well, coming into the last corner, I believe, when I finally got the move done, I knew I had to make him get a bad run out on the finish straight. So I had to dive into the corner, and then I just made him get a bad exit, and then it was all good down to turn one.
Yeah, and obviously congratulations once again. But looking forward now, 2 weeks time, Road Atlanta. What are your thoughts going into the home of Petit Le Mans?
Yeah, I mean, I like Road Atlanta quite a lot, so I think it's gonna be a good one. Just have to practice with the team, and I think we'll all be up in the top again.
Well, I like it as well, so we're going to be in for a great race there, I'm sure. Tony, Frank, any thoughts?
Just congratulations on nabbing the first victory here in the GT3 division. Congratulations, you had an excellent drive tonight, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And then with that, we will now go to our second place finisher, Hendrik Lindhoff.
Henrik, congratulations on being
Not here yet. Hang on.
not here yet.
There we go. Brought him in.
Henrik, congratulations on being in a part of that 1-2 finish for Forza Esports. Talk us through how you were able to make your way through the thick traffic here tonight.
Well, it was tough, to be honest. It was really tough. It's there were cars everywhere, so it was kind of a mess actually. But yeah, just staying really focused and looking everywhere in the mirrors there to try to get through the traffic. But it went pretty well. So clean start at least, so that was good.
You played the pit strategy almost to perfection here tonight. You know, what was the game plan coming in? Were you looking to pit later, or were you looking to pit earlier? Or how did you decide to pit when you did?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the others actually went a lap earlier, but somehow I still had some fuel left, so I just yeah, I pitted on the last lap possible, and then I think I calculated the fuel a bit differently maybe than the others. It was quite tricky because everyone's crew chief was not really working. It was basically saying that we needed like 300 liters, which is way too much. So so we had to calculate a bit, and I guess that was a bit better calculation by me. So I got out in front there.
Well, you definitely figured it out properly, coming home on the second step of the podium here tonight at Suzuka. Next time we see you guys in the GT3 division, it's going to be at Road Atlanta. What are your thoughts going into that race in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's probably the one of my favorite tracks actually. So that one is going to be really fun. It's bumpy and you need to really hold on tight, but yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Absolutely.
All right. Before we let you go celebrate the 1-2 finish with your team, who do you need to thank for tonight?
Well, we want to thank the team, of course. I'm new into the team, and really, as you see here, we really stepped up the game. So it's good to have a 1-2 finish here and also be top 4 in the first race. So big thanks to them.
All right. Congratulations, Henrik. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Road Atlanta.
All right.
And Frank, I believe you've got Jacques Ware with you now.
I guess I do. Where you had a great run, just trying to work your way through on that restart. How difficult are those inverted starts?
Asking me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
They are a mess. It was definitely, this is a good example of how it can be. Hopefully from now on people will be more careful in the round 2, for example. But yeah, I think most of the guys actually made it out of that mess in T1. But yeah, it's all about being consistent in both heats, and yeah, try to make your way up there.
And you did seem to have that that level of consistency through both races. Just what was the key for you tonight? Was it just keeping it on the track, or were you trying to pick your spots?
I gotta say that tonight it was all about consistency. Consistency didn't really help me through round 2 was actually kind of boring. I got in between, like mid race I was in like my own land. There was no one in front of me, no one behind me, so I was just trying to keep my pace and stay on track, and hopefully others will fight in front of me, and I will gain about of that, like of their mistakes. So I had some good action in round 1, also in the last part of round 2, thanks to the guys that were fighting in front of me. So it was all about like staying there and try to keep your pace up.
Absolutely, it was. Going into the next road round in 2 weeks' time at Road Atlanta, what are your thoughts going into that race?
Oh, that's going to be so much fun. I love that track, and I think most of the guys in the GT3 series love that track. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
I want to thank everyone, like you guys, of course. Welcome to this event as well, and also my team, Geodesic, our sponsors, of course, and yeah, everyone that makes this event running.
All right, that was your third place finisher, Joko Ware. Congratulations, bud.
Thank you.
And guys, I think that was a pretty decent introduction to the Svenska Eracingligan here tonight at one of the most famous racetracks in the world.
I don't think we could have asked for a better race, because we saw action all over the track from the time the first green flag flew to the time the last checkered flag flew. I mean, there was battling going on, and it was probably one of the most entertaining road races I have personally had witness to see in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think pretty decent is a bit of an understatement, as it was a great race on a great track, and honestly, all three of our podium finishers in the feature loving Road Atlanta. I love Road Atlanta. I'm sure you guys do as well. So I think we're going to love the race we see there in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely. It is quite a season that we have scheduled here for this series, not just on the road side, but on the oval side as well. And that is where we will head next week again to Daytona on the 1st of September. So next Thursday, we will be in the Next Gen Cup cars at Daytona to start off Season 5 on the oval side. As we'll take a look now at the results here for tonight's race. Gustav Jansson taking the victory, first of the season for Z Sports, again finishing for 1, 2, 3, 4 in the sprint, 1, 2, and 4 in the feature here tonight. Henrik Lindhoff and Joko Ware coming home in the top 3. Sam Hammerstedt, the winner of the sprint race, coming home in 4th, with Tim Orskog in the 5th position. William Pauna, Michael Haflitzen, Daniel Holmer, Oliver Crucell, and Andre Selander coming home in the top 10, Jason.
Yeah, and then we've got Håkan Hurt, the first driver outside the top 10, with Robert Lundgren finishing in 12th. Oscar Fredriksson in 13th, with Marcus Stromberg in 14th, and Dan Sigurdsson in 15th, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. 16th and 17th is going to be Robert Eriksson and Sebastian Magnusson, with 18th going to Linus Hellberg and Jonas Gunnarsson taking 19th. Linus Dolman rounding out your top 20. Then we've got Anton Oman in 21st, Joachim Ulrichsen 22nd, Christian Sorensen 23rd, and Philip Axelsson rounding out our field for today's race.
And the final 3 not making it around to complete the first lap here tonight. So that will pretty much do it here for today's race. My broadcast partners, of course, Jason Sawford and Tony Trapasso. Jason, thank you for taking over there mid-race. We have a lot going on here on ESPN as a whole. Coming up a little bit later on tonight will be the return of Sim Racer's Edge season number 5, kicking off at Auto Club Speedway a little bit later on here this evening. Coming up on Friday will be the return of the Friday doubleheaders with Monsters of Speed New Gen Cup Series. They will be at Watkins Glen at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series will be an hour before that, actually, at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. They will be at Daytona in the Xfinity cars. And then to round out the week will be the ISNF Cup Series round number 6 at Daytona, as well as the Sunday Night NASCAR will also be at Daytona on Sunday. Also on Saturday, completely whiffed on this one, will be the Super Late Model AI Series. They will be at Hickory Motor Speedway. Just 2 rounds left to go for the Super Late Model AI Series. So again, for my broadcast partners, Jason Sawford and Tony Trapasso, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much.